In all honesty, I don't know why more people don't follow in my footsteps. I never watch trailers for films I'm hoping to see. Maybe if people didn't watch the Elemental trailers, maybe they wouldn't get so salty about it merely existing. Seriously, what was with all the hate? Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your BFF Snowy Oreo 663 here, right now. And I want to typically release these mini reviews on the day that I see the movie, but sadly, I wasn't able to see Elemental on opening day. I really wish I could have as well, since it made a really low amount of money on its opening weekend for Pixar. I know my $8 wouldn't have made much of a difference, but hey, it's the thought that counts, right? So, what did I think of the movie? Staying away from spoilers, of course. Well, I thought it was actually pretty good. It's no new masterpiece or anything, but Elemental is surprisingly a super sweet and charming film with a smaller scale adventure. I got a similar vibe to Luca in terms of the stakes of this film, with the overall plot not being super serious, except for the ending, I guess, but we'll get to that in the spoiler section. First, I'll let you know what I really liked. Of course, the animation was outstanding. It is Pixar after all. I was always so fascinated by the little details of Wade and Ember's movements, or the slight color shifts whenever Ember's mood changed. The town itself was beautiful, and I wish we got to see even more of it. I also really admired the characters, and by characters, I mean Ember and Wade and Ember's dad, because pretty much every other character is completely inconsequential. I'll admit, I didn't really care for Wade when he was first introduced. I knew this was a love story, but he really isn't introduced seeming like a love interest. He really shows up acting like an annoying side character that the audience will be forced to stick with. Once the plot gets set in motion, he calms down quite a bit, which makes him easier to like. I honestly think he ended up being my favorite character. It's nice to have a male love interest character who is emotional for once. The chemistry the two share is quite believable and very sweet. They take the time needed to set up the romance. I rooted for them to end up together throughout the film, and I'm really happy with how Pixar went at showing this. Now, as a segue to the stuff I didn't like, let's talk about the race allegory. Speaking as a white person born to American parents in America, I don't know everything about immigrant families. So while I can't speak to the immigrant comparison, I can say there were some positives and negatives that I could tell. First of all, the opening scene of the fire people being given different names was actually an interesting touch, as this was pretty common for most immigrant families back in the day, and even some now. I also really thought that the way the city was built, not accommodating for the fire people, or even not spending time to ensure their section of the city was safe, was something that can ring true for many families. It's a shitty true story, one that still happens to this day. The last excellent way this was handled was in the way that Wade suggested on how to mix different aspects of the water and fire culture, only to be met with anger by the fire people for being disrespectful. I actually thought the prejudice on both angles was handled well in small scenes like that. Then again, using anything non-human as a direct allegory to race is not without its problems. Zootopia is one of my favorite movies from Disney, but I can't pretend the race angle is handled perfectly. Having the other be represented by something that is inherently dangerous is not a good look. There were also some on-the-nose scenes in Elemental, particularly with lines that almost felt directly ripped from some of the weaker Zootopia scenes. And the whole elements don't mix thing was a little ridiculous, especially when Ember said that to an earth element when he was flirting with her. This earth element was a child. She is an adult. Elements don't mix is not the first thing you say in that scenario, Ember. A few other minor issues included some fart jokes with the whole air sports team chant of break wind. I also thought that the earth and air people played little to no part in the story whatsoever. You could honestly remove them besides that one air character, and the story would remain largely unchanged. The rest of my issues with the film have to do with spoilers, so here's your warning. Skip to this time to avoid them. 3, 2, 1, go. So the third act's breakup. That was dumb. I know Ember needed to fully unpack her feelings about Wade and her family, but right after they had such an amazing date to see the Vivisteria, and they finally touched for the first time, it was really random and out of nowhere for her to explode on him after that. I actually groaned and slid down on my seat at the theater when it happened. Then we get to the ending. I feel like they needed some sort of excuse for an action-packed climax, but this is a little weird. It wasn't super serious up until Wade and Ember being trapped in that room. Wade evaporating was referenced, but it wasn't something that was really set up until that point. On top of that, he was able to touch Ember and be fine, but the heat from her was causing him to evaporate. That doesn't make any sense. Not to mention, the way he comes back to life is honestly really cheap. That was dumb. I mean, I didn't want him to die, but it was a major cop-out. All in all, the film was pretty good. I'll probably watch it again sometime in the future. Its biggest strength lies in the relationship between Ember and Wade, which thankfully is the main focus of the film. If you're on the fence about seeing it, I'd give it a watch. We need more original content in theaters, not based off of any pre-existing IP. And yeah, Spider-Verse is a million times better, but for a simple and charming Pixar film, it's not that bad. I'll be giving it 7 Funtime Fox Feets out of 10. I did a Pixar tier list a few months back, so if you're curious, here's where it would go on that list. Oh, and one last thing. This movie features Pixar's first non-binary character, Lake, who uses they/them pronouns. They literally only had, like, one line? I don't even remember their existence. No need to claim that the movie went woke. You aren't helping anybody. Thanks so much for watching my video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a fun comment. I try to respond to as many as I can. With all that said and done, I'll see you in the next one, and remember, elements do mix, Mom. It's called chemistry. Bye!